Who am I going to be? And I want to be clear, this isn't just some vague platitude about building character. If you're willing to work and work until your weaknesses become your strengths, then you'll develop a set of skills that you can mold and apply to any situation you encounter.
Hi, welcome to the Pineapple Podcast, a Cherry Creek Innovation Campus production brought to you by Hospitality Youth Apprenticeship students from the 2022-2023 school year.
Hi, my name is Skylar Gaines. Today's podcast is starring wedding planner Isabelle Kline, owner of Isabelle Kline Designs.
Today's guest is a very dedicated, hardworking individual who has faced a lot of conflicts. She has been a business owner for over 20 years. She is a single mom and owned a storefront for several years. She has been featured in many things such as TLC and MTV produced events. Hi, Isabelle.
Hi.
How are you?
Good, and you?
Good.
Good.
When was a time that you had to persevere through something due to an event?
Due to an event? A wedding event?
Yeah.
Okay. Life event or wedding event? To persevere from an event? A lot here in Colorado. I'm originally from California. And we didn't have too much plan Bs here in California. We always have to consider plan B here in Colorado. I always call it bipolar weather. Mm-hmm. And I think that, planning weddings throughout Colorado, from the mountains to Denver, you have to be on your toes. You have to be ready for the plan B, C, and sometimes even D. Mm-hmm. So definitely that's a test.
What type of challenges have you been through, and how has grit impacted you?
Challenges, I've been through quite a few. I opened up a storefront over 20 years ago in California as a single mom with 3 little ones, and I just threw everything in the wind. I took a big chance. I had a really good full-time job. In fact, my background was in event planning. I did non-for-profit planning for some of the most prestigious hospitals in Southern California. I helped to raise millions of dollars, and I think that's where I got my true background. But then I had that entrepreneurial itch, and took the chance. It was a very challenging time because I was going through divorce, and I just put myself out there. I just thought, I'm going to go for the store, I'm going to somehow make it work, and I'm going to take care of my children. And so the first 10 years of that was a roller coaster ride. It was a year after I opened up my store. It was 9/11. So the world got a little quiet, and it impacted our business. Mm-hmm. And then I also went through the challenges of the economy in 2018.
How were you affected by those challenges?
In 2018, when the economy hit, especially in California, my storefront, my overhead was huge. I had, a couple employees. It was like a stationery store, but we also did event planning, and so we did multiple things throughout the store. The store was just kind of our face base, but my overhead was huge. Living in Southern California was pretty expensive, and when the economy hit in 2008, not 2019, sorry, time flies, 2008, it really hit hard, and especially hit hard there, that I had customers that even were very, very wealthy would call me and say, we are no longer going to have this fancy wedding, we are now going to go in the elope because we don't want to showboat, we don't want to have this huge wedding. So I saw my sales cut in half. And when my sales cut in half, it was pretty devastating when you have all that to take care of. Yeah. So I had to make some pretty big choices, and I had to give up my store. Those
choices have helped in the long run, right? Like, you've learned a lot from those.
Yeah, I really did, because I always wanted that nostalgia of having a storefront, but now in today's world, you don't have to have that. You don't have to have that huge overhead, because it is overbearing, and that's a huge thing I learned the hard way.
What is the craziest wedding you have ever done?
I think one of the craziest or kind of neatest weddings I've ever done was out in Southern California, where I had a couple come to me from Laguna Beach, and they were a couple that's seen everything, every type of wedding, and they really pressed me to the wall saying, We want something really, really different, something that nobody's experienced, something nobody has seen. And that was tough because at that time we've kind of seen it all. And so I gave it a lot of thought and getting to know them. And this couple was absolutely beautiful. They look like Hollywood. That I approached Universal Studios and I asked if we can produce a wedding in their back lot because I wanted a very old Hollywood theme. I wanted to be Hollywood. I wanted to be immersed in it, and they allowed it. And we had our first wedding there with them, and it was amazing. It was crazy. It was crazy because all the logistics, working with Universal Studios, making it feel that old Hollywood theme when their guests would roll into the back lot, open those huge gates to Universal Studios, and they were all escorted to Valet Park. We had red carpet lined out, and we hired a bunch of paparazzis acting, not paparazzi, but photographers acting like paparazzis while every guest walked down. There was so many more details. I probably don't have enough time to talk about it, but it was so invigorating. It was so exciting, and I think that was one of my favorite overall, because it was something that just made me really think and go to a venue that you don't even consider that a venue. I mean, it's Universal Studios. I mean, who would think, let's go ask let's go ask Disneyland, even though now Disneyland has been doing weddings for many years, but this was before that, before anybody thought of those things, and it was really neat to have that for my customers.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Sounds like a lot of details.
Yeah, a lot. It was a lot of fun, but a lot of work and an amazing experience.
What makes a good wedding planner?
I think what makes a good wedding planner is their personality. You have to have a certain personality. It is not for everybody. It's just because we have such a job that we are working with all kinds of personalities. From the bride to the parents to the grandparents, generations, different religions, all types of things. And it does take a really, I don't want to say, it's not easygoing, but just a calming personality to sit there and not let them see you sweat, but to know that they have the confidence in you to do your job. And the world could be falling, apart in the background, but you're not letting it show. And not everybody could do that. And you can read any books, you can go to school forever, and it's not taught. I think it's something that is within, and it's a lot of hard work, and it's knowing that it takes hard work. It's not just showing up and thinking it's a party. It is hands-on, and it's caring, and it's being in the shoes of, I'm going to do whatever I can to have this couple come to their wedding and be the guests. I want them being the guests, so we're going to work and behind the scenes and make it all happen.
That's like those skills that are you're born with. You can't be trained. Is basically
it takes a personality, yeah, for sure. Or at least observations, learning, But I've seen some people that can't handle stress, and that's huge. I mean, it is, like I said, and we're not going to sugarcoat it. It's stressful. There are times where they're stressful, and like I said, it does take that personality.
Yeah, because there's no such thing as a perfect event. It's hard to go an event without a hitch, correct?
Yeah, well, we try our best. And we've had some really, where it just felt like, is this for real? Nothing's happened that's gone so smooth.
Really?
And I think that's years and years of really, being focused and understanding what it takes behind the scenes. And like I said, that personality too. Because if you come in stressed, or if you come in where your customer is vibing off of you, seeing you are like, what's going on, they're going to get stressed, and things can start falling apart.
Will you tell me a time when you had to deal with a difficult client?
Yes, I believe everybody in any industry deals with difficult clients, and there are many. And sometimes that was the hardest lesson to learn, to be honest with you, because I'm a people pleaser. I'm a giver. I think I went into this industry just wanting to give. And so when somebody ended up not being happy, I thought, oh my gosh, I failed. I'm a failure. There were times where I just thought, maybe this is not for me. I would cry. I would take it personally. I would even have nightmares about it. It just really would bother me. But then getting more education, being in the industry, going and talking to other people made me understand one very key thing is that there's times where you cannot make everybody happy. You really can't. Maybe something personal that's going on with them, or they just had an expectation, and it pushes you to even be better next time. It pushes you, sometimes those lessons that I thought, gosh, what did I do wrong? I stepped back. And I ended up like not taking it as personal. I ended up learning from it. And what can I do better to never have this fail again and make that customer unhappy?
Always learning.
Always learning. Yes.
What is the best piece of advice you have ever received?
There's been a lot of great little gems throughout. The best piece of advice is, lately what I've been hearing a lot is just strive and just tenacity. And, my brother, he was also an entrepreneur, a very famous chef. He loved, for example, Kobe Bryant. His mentality was Mamba mentality. I don't know if you ever heard that expression. No? Do you know who Kobe Bryant is?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm like, am I not? Okay, so Kobe Bryant was not born the greatest basketball player. I mean, he was one of the top greatest basketball players ever. He actually trained himself to be the best. So he had this Mamba vicious mentality where he practiced more than any other players. When everybody else was doing something else, he was in the court for years practicing his game. But he took it to other levels, and that's what made him so extraordinary and such a GOAT in his industry. And I think that's all what we want to strive for, is to be the best. He even took tap dancing lessons because he, later on in the interview, he said that it helped him be faster on his feet. He took it outside the box. He learned outside the box. What basketball player goes tap dancing, as part of their practice, but he did because he wanted to do something different. He wanted to develop these skills that like nobody else had, and that's the Mamba mentality. And my brother we fed off each other, and he always would say, Isabelle, we need to have that Mamba mentality.
What is your favorite wedding you have done?
My favorite? Oh, that's another hard question. Yeah, good question. Because that's hard to say because I love them all. I mean, my favorites, honestly, are ones that my customers have, and I've had that recently a lot, that just totally just let everything go and believed in me. And then we became friends. Then we became, just because they were just so thrilled with the outcome and they knew that we did whatever it took. And so it's not all about like, oh, how big and bougie this wedding is, anymore to me. Because as a planner, as a designer, as a, caterer, who doesn't love those big bougie weddings and to showcase that as your work? Mm-hmm. To me, it's much more than that now. To me, it's about like the relationships. It's about, I had one customer this year that was so thrilled with our work that she gifted us, my family, a trip to Hawaii. That's huge. That's huge. I know. I like I said, I'm a giver, not a taker. I'm like, what? But that goes to show you that there are good, kind people out there that just really appreciate your work and what you do.
If you could say one last thing to the young leaders listening today, what would you tell them?
I don't want to seem cliche, but I really do believe in don't give up, and I'm like one that could. All through my life, I've had my hurdles. Like I said, I've been emancipated since 16. Didn't really have a family to fall back on. I was out on my own. But I never gave up, never. Like I said, there was nights where I cried myself to sleep. There was days where I thought, how am I going to do this? But I just did. It just happened, and I kept going. And in today's world, I think it's getting tougher and tougher. We have so much going on. I think even more for your generation. Now we're suffering with even things like mental health we're hearing a lot about, and that is very concerning. And that's why I think, what's so important is never give up, be kind to others, have that Mamba mentality, learn tap dancing. I mean, just take it to a different level. But if you truly love what you're getting into, figure it out. Figure it out. I think this is great what you guys are doing, because there are times where you might get in a career and you might be like, this is not for me, and that's okay. Then step back and reevaluate and go for something, because honestly, life is short, and if you don't love what you do, then you end up just working just to live, and that's not good either at all. And talk about mental, and then other things can come out of that. So that's why to me it's like never give up.
This episode is in honor of Isabelle's brother, a very talented and popular chef who recently passed away at the young age of 47 due to a major heart attack. He sadly did not take care of himself, and Isabelle is passionate about bringing awareness to the importance of health, warning signs, etc., and how we can help each other in the hospitality industry. This industry takes a lot out of you, but don't let yourself go. Give yourself time, and if you see signs of struggling, be aware and kind. You don't know what is going on. Thank you for listening.